Hello, how are you today? It's been a little bit since I've done a live. Actually, the last one was the live I did with Elaine Kelly and shared that for her group, the Wise Owl Equitation. And I really wanted to get back and doing a live myself for you guys. It's been I've had a little bit going on in life and a little busy and needed to take a little break from things. So, which is good. We all need to do that. So that's a good thing to remember. And I am now back doing a live. And I wanted to talk about because I've been reassessing. It's that time of year, getting, it's going in for business, it's going in, the fourth quarter. Um, and thinking about the new years and all that and what's next year going to bring and it's the same thing with your ride to really kind of where are you at now, what were your successes and wins, so thinking back, it's just really a good time to assess and plan, thinking back and just taking this time when things are maybe a little quieter. Maybe they're not quite yet, but they're getting that way. I know we're getting into the holiday season, but the riding stuff for many of you is slowing down and shifting and morphing. So it may not be that you're not going to keep riding, but you do it in a different way. You're going indoors. You're, not going to be showing as much. Maybe you trail riding, you won't be doing that as much. So whatever it is, maybe, and some of you may not have an indoor ring, and so you don't ride much over the winter. So what are the things you can do to plan for next year so that you can keep working and growing through the winter time and make it a valuable time for you. And I think the most important thing, and I do this myself with my business to try to remind myself, it's really easy, and our brains are geared towards, they have a negative bias, and I've talked about that before in different things, but it's geared that way to keep us safe and all that. So it has a negative bias. So immediately we look at what didn't go well, what we didn't like, what we're not happy with, and that's where our minds focus. And so I really recommend that you focus on what went well this past year, whatever it may be, what you did, what were your successes, the big ones, the small ones, really, look at those, write them down. So you really think about them and really kind of, make your brain remember the successes, remember the positives. So you focus on them more first and, just make a list of them. And we've all had successes, even if we haven't had the best year, we didn't get done what we planned to, or whatever, there were still successes, and we need to focus on those. And you're really gonna have to sit down and think about it and really not get stuck in those worrying about what didn't go well. And then you can start thinking about, well, okay, I had these successes, but I really wish I would like to go from here to there for next year. Whether it be in your showing, your level of showing, um, your amount of trail riding you're going to do, the length of the trail rides, the number of lessons you're going to take, or whatever it is you do. It doesn't, you can be totally pleasure rider, but is there something you're going to want to challenge yourself to improve your canter, or your lope, or your transitions into your canter or lope, or whatever it may be, working with, your skills and tuning it on your horse and connecting to your horse. What are those things that you want to do? Maybe it's something like, I want to bring more mindfulness into my riding so I don't get caught up on the negative. There's lots of different things in lots of different areas you can plan for. So it's like, what am I going to do for my mindset? What am I going to do for my technique and position? What am I going to do for my connection to my horse? Because those are the three things I really work on in like for the Unleashed Equestrian I do to get that balance of all those things. So what are the different areas you want to work in? And what are the successes you've had? And now, where do you want to go? What do you want to build on? What are the things maybe you struggled with that you want to try to get better at and work on? What are some other things you want to work on that are new? And I would suggest that you make a goal that's a stretch, but attainable. So don't make a goal so big that you get really disappointed, because there's really no chance that you're going to make it. Either it's too much of a financial goal, you don't have the time, you don't have the horse to maybe do whatever it is, or your level isn't as at there. But What's something that's a stretch? So you get out of your comfort zone, you push yourself out of your comfort zone, but something that's attainable. And think about that. And then from there, get that idea. What is it I want to do? I want to, gosh, I love trail riding, because I don't want to always talk about showing. That's an important thing that people do and stuff, but there's many ways you can enjoy riding. So I love trail riding, and I've gone on some short ones, but I would really love to go with a group of friends next year on an overnight trail ride, and do a long one, and go somewhere where you can stay overnight and take your horse and stay there. That might be a goal. Or I want to really attend a certain clinic, or I want to work on, whatever it is, some different thing that you haven't done that you'd like to really challenge yourself and bring into your what you want to do. So take that goal, a little bit of a stretch, something you've been working towards already, but make it a little more. But then plan small steps to get there, right? So, if it's a longer trail ride, well, start even in the winter riding a little longer each time, even if it's in an indoor. Or if you can't ride in the winter, then maybe you research online about how to do longer trail rides and get to understand all the things you should have ready, and gather stuff like that together, what you would do, where you would go do it, where the best places are. So there's different things you can do, even planning for whatever it is you may want to work at. So maybe stuff that you do off the horse in order to, like, say it's this overnight trail ride. And then you plan on, then you work on stuff on the horse when the weather gets a little better. So, thinking about that, what are some small steps? And then celebrate those small steps as you go. So when you're planning for whatever it may be, that you were planning for, all right, I am gonna, it's about showing, and I want to show. I've been showing over Crossrails this year, and I want to show over 2-3 more, more competitive courses at a little bigger horse shows. Plan your, around learning and improving that, and lessons around it. And if you have your first course where you do some jumps that are not Crossrails and they're 2 foot, 2-3, and even if the jumps aren't, you didn't have the best distances and they're not, but just say, I did that today. That's a win. So now I can improve on that. So taking small wins and building on them. So instead of saying, oh, I jumped this 2-foot course, but I didn't get very good distances and I wasn't really happy with it. As opposed to, I've never jumped a 2-foot course. I don't care that my distances weren't good. I'm thrilled that I did it. And now I'm going to work on improving. And the only way I can improve is by trying something that's a stretch, working on the mistakes, and then moving forward. So really, really, celebrate those wins, as I said, each day. And that's true not just over the winter. So we have the winter now, so you're kind of doing, different things. But that's true in the summer too, when you are competing, showing, riding and trail, doing whatever. Always be celebrating the small wins. And you may have a plan for showing, trail riding, whatever, and then all of a sudden, there's some roadblock that gets in your way. Don't let the roadblock stop you. You may have to shift your plan. You may have to do something different, but keep moving forward, right? So, what happens? Your horse is lame. Something happens. Your horse is lame, and your horse can't be ridden. And maybe you're not going to get to that level of whatever. Your horse has to rest for a few months, so maybe you're going to get behind. So what are the things you can do then while your horse is resting that can help you to improve, whether it be take lessons on a different horse, or maybe that's not available, or you can't, finances aren't such that you can do that, then just, study and watch videos online and learn things and keep improving. Do fitness stuff for yourself, do mindset stuff for yourself, so that you, even if you're stuck in one area, you can keep moving forward in other areas, so that when your horse gets sound again, you're that much further ahead and can carry on. Even though you didn't ride maybe during that time, you can carry on and you're further forward and can have more successes and more wins, because you've built up either stronger mindset, stronger skills, understanding, more strength, physically, whatever it may be. And it could be you get laid up. Your horse is fine. You get laid up because of being ill or having injury or something. Well, then what is it you can do while you're watching and while you're waiting? You're watching videos, and then if you have the finances and the ability, have someone keep working with your horse to keep your horse going, and maybe you can even watch that even if you can't be there, have videos and things. So how can you keep moving forward if somehow roadblocks come up for your plan? Because I often see where people get so discouraged they just don't move forward anymore. They just think they're done, and you may not get to your goal. You may just not get there and have to shift it. And you may have to notice like small mistakes and make small changes daily as you go along, and stay present with what's going on right now, so that if the goal, if you're like, oh, I don't know if I can get there, just keep working on what's happening now and make changes as you go with what's happening today and celebrate today. And so therefore you may reach that goal and you may not. You may reach a different goal that you never planned. You may go beyond your goal. That's possible. That you're like, wow, I didn't stretch far enough and look where I'm at. You may get to a goal that you hadn't planned on, but in the process, it was more exciting than the one you originally planned on. That happens sometimes too. That certainly happens with me in my business. I will plan on doing some kind of program, and sometimes, depending upon what my clients need or circumstances, things come along, I'm all of a sudden developing something else, and it wasn't what I had planned on, but it's actually kind of more exciting and going to be better for what I'm doing, better for my business. So be open to that goal changing, and that maybe it's going to be something different that you never thought of, some kind of opportunity. And that's where if you stay focused on positive things and stay with your mindset open to being present today and learning and all that, your mind will be open to the possibilities of things that you didn't even think of. You'll be engaging with people in such a way that you hear about other possibilities because you're really focused on positive things and growing in that. So, and I'm seeing some typos here, and should be no matter what happens. I should have checked that a little bit, but I've learned too that I don't worry too much about my mistakes like this because it's small. It's not the end of the world. I kind of did this in a hurry, so next time I'll pay more attention. But that's the way to deal with things. What are the big things that matter? Bigger things that really matter, not getting caught up in the small things. So really keep learning and growing no matter what happens. So even if you get stuck and some reason you can't move forward for whatever reason, financial, health reasons, horse injury, really bad. We have, sometimes it's our winters up in the Northeast, it depends on where you are so cold that you can't ride as much as you had planned, whatever it may be. Just keep learning and growing and find ways to keep improving, even though maybe you had to make a little shift in your plans and do something a little differently. So, but really think about, now is the time to think about what is it you want for next year. Put something in place. Take some time to think about it so that you don't just kind of start the year off wherever and hope it works out, right? You have kind of a plan that you can shift and reassess. I always say to people when I talk to clients, particularly in one-on-one, and we're talking, and I'll say to them, what is your goal? And you can change your goal. It's like planning a trip to California and not mapping out the trip. Well, if you don't have a clue as to where California is relative to where you are, I'm assuming, I'm in the Northeast, so I'm thinking going across country. So planning a trip cross country, for me, it's California. You might be in California and it's to New York, or you might be in Europe somewhere and it's but planning a long trip, and you get in your car and start driving and you have no sense of the direction you want to go. Well, you may never get there. And you may eventually get there, but boy, it took you an awful long time and a lot of struggle. But if you have a map and a plan, you say, oh, this is where I want to go. I want to go from here to here. This is where I want to go. These are the places I'm going to go on the way. This is where I'm going to stop, and this is what I'm going to do. And then maybe along the way you go, oh, I didn't realize this opportunity was here. I'm going to do a little diversion and go off here and do something a little different than I planned because this looks like a great opportunity. But you're still heading, maybe your endpoint even changes, but you're still heading forward and you know where you wanted to go and you know where you're shifting it to because you have a plan and you have a thought of where you want to go. Maybe, you don't want to go off you're still trying to head in that direction, but there's a roadblock, a physical roadblock. You're driving and you have to go a different way. Well, you got to figure that out. How are you going to just sit there and not move? Or are you going to figure out how to go? You could turn around and go back and say, you know what, I'm discouraged. I'm not going to keep moving forward. I give up. Or you can think, it might be a little longer for me to get there. What? I'm going to have to go this way. Maybe there's a really cool opportunity if I go this way that I never would have had. So sometimes the struggles that we have in our lives also give us opportunities to learn from, so in one way or another. Maybe we don't realize it at the time, but we do, when we look back. So keep moving forward, but have a plan. So and this is such a good time to kind of figure out what that plan is, between now and the first, somewhere in the early 2023, kind of have some kind of a plan figured out. And even a little plan between now and then maybe for going forward from there. You can do it in little chunks so that it's not so hard and so overwhelming. And that's the best way, like I said, small steps. So what am I going to do in the next month? I'm going to make my plan. What am I going to do in the next month after that? I'm going to get everything in place for my plan. What am I going to do after that? I'm going to start writing, doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, small steps all the way. So anyway, that's some stuff I've been thinking about. It's certainly on my mind in relation to my business. I'm creating new things. I have stuff it's going to be starting in 2023, and it kind of made me think about, that's how I got thinking about this topic, that, now is the time to kind of settle in. For me, it's a rainy day and I'm inside and I have a business coach, worked with my business coach this morning, been thinking about things and thinking about where I want to go next and what I want to do. And it's no different than with your writing, right? And it's your goals. The other thing I want you to remember is these goals are your goals. So don't compare yourself to others. I do that plenty in my business, and I have to remind myself, I have to go at my pace, doing what I want in my way. So don't think, oh, why am I not able to horse show, or why am I not able to do, I'm not that good at cantering yet, or why am I not that good at this yet? Just work on you right now, where you're at, and build your goals from there. Don't build your goals comparing what other people are doing, but do what's best for you. And that's how you'll keep growing. If you get stuck worrying about what others are doing, you'll get caught up in kind of overwhelmed and feeling bad about what you're not doing. And then you just kind of don't move forward. So really focus on where you're at, your skills and abilities, all the positives you've had, and then where it is you want to go and what are some, attainable steps that you can do to get there, each step along the way. So anyway, I will probably be talking more about this as we go into the winter season and the new year. So think about that. Start making a plan. I'll talk to you soon and have a wonderful evening.